multiplication and division laws and rules. So when you first look at multiplication of exponents, there's a couple things you need to pay attention to. One, that we call the power. And what I want you to be sure that you write on here as extra is that your exponent only applies to the number or letter directly before it. Unless you have parentheses. So if we're using the exponent rule, we're going to use rules. First of all, if we're multiplying, we're going to keep the base the same. We have the same base. We're going to add exponents. So multiply with the same base, add the exponents. So let's look at a couple of examples. This one means x to the third, so there's 3 x's. And x to the fifth, so we have 5 x's. Add all the x's together. So we add all these together, we get x to the 8th. If there's not an exponent on one, it's understood to be 1. So here we have y to the third, y to the fourth, and 1y. So we add all those up, we have 8. So when I ask you how many letters that you have, I don't mean how many that you see, I mean how many that you have as far as exponents. Add your exponents together. If you have something being added or subtracted in parentheses, it's considered the same thing, same base. So we have a plus b. 2 times for the first one, 3 times for the second one. So if we add all these together, we end up with a to the plus b, keep what's in parentheses, to the 5th. If you have several letters or numbers that are grouped together, combine like terms, just like we would do when we're adding, subtracting, anything else. If we're doing multiplication with exponents, we want to combine like terms. So if I ask how many a's that we have have 3 a's, 2 a's, a to the 5th. Look at our b's. We have 2 and 4, so we have a b to the 6th. So that's our basic rule for multiplication of exponents. On the second page, a couple things up here in the top. Exponent forms what we do on the other side. You leave it with an exponent. This is where we would simply add our exponents together, and we're going to come up with 8 plus 3, so we get 2 to the 11th. This numerical form means use your calculator and figure out what it is. It's the key in your calculator right underneath the clear button. So we put in 2 to the 11th power. We get 2,048. We would do the same, the rest of them the same way. Be careful if you have a negative. Negatives have to stay in parentheses. It makes a big difference. So if we add these, we get 3 to the 5th, or if we multiply it out, get negative 243. This is something else I want you to write right here. Negatives must be used in parentheses. That's the original. So if it's originally in parentheses, you have to keep it that way. The reason is because these are 2 different things. This means negative 3 times 3, which is negative 9. This means negative 3 squared, which is negative 3 twice. That would be positive 9. These are not the same. careful about the negatives. There's a note down here also. You have numbers and letters involved. The numbers, you do the same thing you would if it didn't have any exponents there. 3 times 2 is simply 6. Add your exponents. And that's where we come up with 5. So 3 times 2 is 6. 2 plus 3 is 5. If we look at our practice here, 5 times 2 is 10. 3 plus 7. 3 plus 4 is 7. Here, negative 6 times 5 is negative 30. If we add our exponents, we have 4 and 8, which gives us y to the 12th. So that's our basic multiplication of exponents. The division is going to work very much the same way, only instead of adding exponents, we're going to subtract. So right here, we have the same base, we're going to subtract exponents. It's extremely important to write out each of these so that we can see where these cancel off. So if we look at our first example, we have x to the 7th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, over x to the 3rd. Then we can look at how we cancel these off. What you're left with is your answer. Again, on number 2, if the exponent's not there, it's a 1. So here we have y to the 5th, and 1 on the bottom. Same thing, top and bottom divides out, cancels itself, so we end up with simply 4. Same thing applies to parentheses. Whatever's in parentheses has to stay that way. So here, if we have 3 on top and 2 on the bottom, that means we're going to be left with 1. We can either write the exponent or we can leave it off if it's a 1. Same thing if they're mixed. If you have the same thing, have letters and numbers or 2 different letters, simply write out what all we have. So we have 3 A's, we have 6 B's. On the bottom we have 2 A's and we have 3 B's. We need to eliminate what's the same. So we're going to get rid of 2 A's, 3 B's, and then write our answer. And so division of exponents is the same idea with keeping items alike or variables alike. Only with division, we're going to subtract our exponents instead of adding our exponents. Solutions work the same way. Work the problem out, get an exponent solution, and get a numerical solution. So if we look at number 5, in the first one, we have 9 2's on top, 6 on the bottom. Subtract. Gives us 2 to the 3rd. Put it in your calculator or multiply out. 2 times 2 times 2. We get 8. Same thing with the negatives. If it's already a negative, it has to stay in parentheses as a negative. 5 minus 3 gives us 2. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. We're doing coefficients. The number in front, this is division, just like we've always done. So divide it out. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Subtract your exponents, you get b to the 1st. So if we're looking at 9, 8 to 24 divided by 3 is 8. 6 minus 2 is 4. Divides out. If it cannot divide evenly, leave the fraction. Don't try to rearrange it to something that it's not. If it's a fraction, leave it there. So our negative 6 over 5 stays. 9 minus 8 gives us 1. So we have negative 6y on top and 5 on the bottom. One other thing about exponents, any base to the 0 power is equal to 1. Because if we look at a list here, we know that 3 squared is 9, 3 to the first is 3. If we continue going down, we're dividing by that number each time. This will always be a number divided by itself. Therefore, anything to the 0 power is 1. A lot of times there's a tricky type problem with a lot of things in parentheses. For example, we can have 2x squared, y to negative 3, z. All of this, if it's to the 0 power, simply equals 1. So there's our multiplication and division of exponents and all the notes that go along with it.